I want to just finish with some comments regarding the federal deficit and our what I called a train wreck, and a movement that is going to end badly with respect to a financial crisis. I'm particularly concerned about some of the proposals that have been made for dealing with this train wreck. One of the proposals, conventional proposal, is that we raise taxes. Another proposal is that we cut Social Security recipients and Medicare. In my judgment, both of those proposals will do more damage than anything else. And I hope we can avoid them. Well, the question is, what then is the alternative? And I believe there is an alternative. I believe there is a solution to what seems to be an unsolvable problem of where our federal finances are heading. And the solution exists primarily because our government is so large, so inefficient, so wasteful, so destructive in terms of the things that it does. And the very size of that government offers a solution. The solution exists because when you look at economic studies of government versus the private sector, it's almost consistently true that the government is only half as productive as the private sector. The government is terribly wasteful, terribly destructive. And so the very size of that waste suggests that we might have an opportunity to solve an unsolvable problem. And I'm particularly impressed by this proposal to have a government efficiency council, but only if we don't put a politician or a bureaucrat as the head of that council. It only is going to work if we put someone, some sort of genius, who somehow looked at unsolvable problems, seemingly unsolvable problems, and then made success in these certain areas. And I'm not going to mention any names. But if someone like that could be put in charge of a government commission to basically figure out where all the waste and abuse and destruction is, we have the potential of releasing hundreds of trillions of dollars of locked up resources by redirecting them from the government into the private productive sector. Now, I know it sounds impossible, but guess what? 100 years ago, it was done. Remember I talked about the government, federal government, being 2% of the economy back in 1900. Well, in the year 2020, a little over 100 years ago, government spending had exploded. It was 6.2% of the economy. That was a lot. That was more than 3 times increase in government spending. Well, guess what? Under an administration that felt that the government was highly wasteful, they cut more than half of the federal budget. By the latter part of the 1920s, the federal budget as a percent of the economy was down to 2.8%. And what happened to the economy? Well, there were predictions, of course, you cut all that government spending, the economy's got to collapse, right? Just the opposite. The real take-home pay of a full-time worker went up an average of 3.3% a year for the entire decade. And the decade became known as the Roaring '20s. See, we've done it before. We can do it again. There are solutions out there. And wouldn't it be great if we could have 100 years later, another Roaring '20s? Let me stop there. Jeff, see what we can do.